Tuesday, November 28th, City Council business meeting to order. We will have Pledge of Allegiance and invocation by Councilman Smith.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you so much, Councilman Smith. Okay, we do have a public hearing scheduled for today for the de-annexation of Lot 34A located at 7900 Holly Hills Drive. Our city attorney has a statement about that.
Sure. This is a request for a de-annexation of a new lot that has been subdivided in the city. It is lot 34A, and we had on the address that it was located at 7900 Holly Hills Drive. It's actually a new address, which will be 7902 Holly Hills Drive, which is property that has been demolished, I think, from the just the issues that they had with strong winds in that area a couple of years ago. So that's the issue that'll be coming forward. And in connection with the public hearing, we would at least like to present some of the aspects that may be at odds in connection with this matter regarding city services that are being provided, and then we should give an opportunity for the applicant for the de-annexation to be able to speak if they wish.
All right, thank you so much, Phil. All right, just for the record, it's de-annexation of Lot 34A located at 7902 Holly Hills Drive, correct?
Yes.
All right, so our public hearing will schedule right now for 30 minutes with 2 minutes each. Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is in District 4. I'm aware of this particular case. Phil, is there a list of conditions that are being offered at the public hearing? Is that what I'm hearing?
The aspect
on the city's behalf?
At least on the city's behalf, I've asked the folks from the wastewater department, from the fire department, and from the police department and public works to at least provide you with a little bit of information here about what the services are today.
Okay.
And then we can go from there as to the request for de-annexation.
And I'm assuming the applicant's been copied on that to have a heads up.
These provisions will be shown to you here today, yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Right, thank you so much, Councilman Ledford. So with that, we will call our public hearing into order. And first, we will hear about those city services from wastewater, fire, and
Yes.
I think it's the other.
Mr. Heinzer is here to talk with you a little bit about that, and Mr. Bill Payne as well.
Good evening. My name is Mark Heinzer. I'm the administrator for the wastewater department. Regarding 7902 Holly Hills Drive, we do not currently serve that parcel. We serve the adjacent parcel, 7900. The existing sewer that serves that corner lot is in Jenkins Road. It's not in Holly Hills Drive. So in order to serve 7902, a sewer extension would have to be constructed along that from Jenkins down Holly Hills Drive. And also, if that is outside of the city boundary, it would probably fall into the Hamilton County Water and Wastewater Treatment Authority service area. So there's some interjurisdictional coordination that would have to happen in order to serve that new parcel. So currently, we do not serve 7902.
Okay.
If we can click to the next slide, I think it'll show you where the property is here, and that'll help them a little bit in your review. There you go.
If one more slide would show, there you go.
And the previous slide showed the houses that were there before they were damaged. Is that correct, sir?
And so if we're talking about lot numbers, we currently serve lot 34 off of Jenkins Road. And there is no sewer service in Holly Hills Drive.
And the request at this point in time is a new lot that would be made up of what was previously lot 34 and 35. Is that correct, sir?
My understanding, if the next slide will show the proposed or the maybe it's existing now, 4 lots out of those 2 lots.
Okay.
All right.
If I may, the green line that you see represents the current City of Chattanooga boundary. So the city limits, if we can back up one slide, you can see where Lot 34 is currently all inside the city. This was as it was originally platted in Holly Hills. Lot 35 is completely inside Hamilton County. So this is on the boundary of Chattanooga and Hamilton County. Proceeding to the next slide, which shows the more recent 2022 aerials, This represents the plat that has been submitted by the applicant. And so Lot 34 is now only the portion of the corner lot of the original 34. Lot 34A is a portion of 34, of the original 34, and a portion of 35. The number 35 has been renumbered and is a piece out of the middle, and 35A is also a new one as well. If we go to the next slide, what you see shaded in the orange represents the portion of Lot 34A that would be inside the city of Chattanooga. So 34A would be bisected almost down the middle by this, as a result of this, which we imagine is the reason for part of the de-annexation request, because there would have to be some jurisdictional handoffs in addition to the wastewater that Mr. Heinzer referenced. We would also have to do similar handoffs related to codes, building inspections, permitting, because of the fact that it would be part in the city and part in the county. So which has been done in the past and would be done by Public Works in conjunction with the county building inspections office. But that gives you some understanding of the way the lots are laid out. We do have a slide whenever the council is ready about Public Works services as well, which is the next slide.
All right, Councilman Ledford.
Madam Chair, I'll yield till the presentation. Thank
All
you.
right, go ahead. Y'all go ahead.
Just continuing in terms of Public Works services, and I've referenced on this slide that these may be subject to some restriction based on the fact that lot frontage, not all of these services might be provided across the full frontage of Lot 34A, but certainly 34A being partially inside the city would be eligible for garbage, recycle collection, bulky trash pickup, brush collection, leaf collection, permitting and inspection services, again, in conjunction with coordination with Hamilton County. Code enforcement also would be something that would have to be coordinated with Hamilton County as well. Street paving, at least for a portion of Holly Hills, street repairs and pothole repairs, also for the portion of Holly Hills in front of 34 and part of 34A. Any street signs that may be in that particular area, right in front of that particular spot, in front of the subject lot, as well as pavement markings and any stormwater provisions.
And Mr. Payne, the city will continue to provide services to those areas that are within the city limits, but if it's de-annexed, would not provide any, wastewater services or any of these public works services to the areas outside the city limits at that time, correct?
That is correct. Correct.
Okay.
All right. Have any more presentation, or that's it? All right.
That's our final slide.
Okay, Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before you guys go, that was my question. Thanks for verifying that. So basically what we're looking at is about 7,000 square feet that we're de-annexating or asking to be de-annexed. And so 34A, basically, the rest of it, because it's been bisected, the rest of that lot is out from all of these services, and that is the request to the applicant, correct?
Correct. I believe in looking at the plat, all of Lot 34A is around 7,700 square feet. So essentially the de-annexation request is something less than 4,000. So call it 3,000 to 4,000 square feet. I don't know the exact amount.
Okay, I'm clear. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right.
And I did have someone from the fire department and police department here, at least to confirm where your hydrants are located and then also what police services are provided.
Good afternoon. Yes, the police department does, provide services for this location and will continue to as long as it stays part of the city. In just a brief search, we have responded to one crash at this location within the last 2 years.
Okay.
Fire department, we actually made a site visit today. There is a hydrant right in front of this property. It is bagged, it's out of service. We reached out to Eastside about it. They're trying to make repairs, ordering parts to get that hydrant back up and running. The hydrant itself will actually be in tri-community or in the county, but it's still usable to us, and we'd have no problem servicing this location.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Anything else, Phil?
Nope, that's on that side if the applicant has any requests, if he's here.
All right. Is the applicant present? Okay. Is there anyone who would like to speak in regards to the de-annexation of this lot? Would you raise your hand, please? All right. All right, then. So with that, with no questions or no applicant, any other questions from council? All right, don't see any lights. We will close the public hearing on 7902 Holly Hills Drive.
And this ordinance will come up next week here on your agenda.
Yes, thank you so much, Phil. All right, council, can I get approval on the minutes? Okay, it's been moved and properly second. They'll stand without objection. Discussion of agenda today, we'll go through our today's agenda, our next week's proposed agenda, purchasing, future considerations, and then we also have an attorney-client meeting after our committees today. So council, if you will take a look at today's agenda for our order of business for city council, ordinances under final reading, legal. If you have any questions or comments, please hit your light. Okay, Councilwoman Burrs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only issue that I have is with purchases. May I move on down to that?
That's fine.
All right, next to the last item, having to do with tree removal, we respectfully request that that be removed from the agenda for future consideration.
All right, that's fine. We'll have that removed.
Thank you.
Right, thank you, Councilwoman Burrs. Okay, any other comments or questions? Ordinances under final reading. We have several planning items. Right, see no lights. Ordinances under first reading. Economic development. Any comments or questions? All right, we have resolutions today under council office. All right, Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The resolution under council office related to execution of a professional services agreement with Dr. Marcus Malden and the City Council. When we bring this up for discussion, I am going to be asking for an amendment. As our body has had conversations about this equity study, we've had discussion over making sure that we aren't redundant with the work, that we are investing wisely. And for me, the most important thing about this study is the delivery of a framework that we can employ in the future, not just recommendations for policies that we recognize now, but for a framework in the future for us to consider the work that we do and the programs and policies that we would implement. And so I will be bringing forth an amendment to add to the scope of work and required deliverables the following: to provide a framework for council to use to evaluate future policy and programs.
All right, thank you so much.
That's all. And so hopefully that will be favorable to the council.
All right, thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Okay, any other comments? Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. I too will be asking that if we can amend the date,
Okay.
Instead of ending in February to end in March.
Okay, all right. So we'll be looking out for those two amendments shortly. Okay, any other comments or questions about the resolution on the council office? All right, resolutions under economic development. If you take a look at those, any comments or questions, please hit your light. Okay. Under fire, any comments or questions? And I do want to, for fire, want to thank the Community Association of Historic St. Elmo for raising the funds for our fire department. We appreciate them so much for that. Human Resources, Mayor's Office, any other comments regarding resolutions? Okay, if you take a look at your purchases, any comments or questions, please hit your light. Okay. All right. And we do, yes, go ahead, Councilwoman Knoll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can we go back up to Human Resources, please?
Yes. go
Okay,
ahead.
so can someone tell me what they changed in the equal employment opportunity anti-harassment? What was changed in there?
Okay, we have, here comes Daniel and Mandy. Hey.
Good afternoon. The presentation was sent to council on November 7th, but I can highlight that the changes primarily in 3.2, the Americans with Disabilities and Amendments Act, and then we substantially expanded the reasonable accommodation section. Previously, the reasonable accommodation section did not actually define what an accommodation is or the parameters for it. And also it didn't have any process for what the employees could expect. So we've significantly improved that policy.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, we do have committees today. We have Parks and Public Works, Legislative Committee, Affordable Housing Committee, and then we also have an attorney-client meeting following that. So with that, if there are no other questions about the agenda, I will turn this over to Councilman Hester for Parks and Public Works.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can we accept the minutes?
So moved.
Welcome to Parks and Public Works Committee. Can we accept the minutes?
So moved.
Okay, I got a second this time. Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, ordinance on first reading, wastewater, B, please.
An ordinance closing and abandoning a sanitary sewer easement beginning at MH number S118K036, following the easement through MH numbers S118K006 and S118K007, ending at MH number S118K008 for a total of 845 feet. Tax map number 118K-A-046.01, as shown on the attached maps, subject to certain conditions.
I see no hands. C, please.
An ordinance closing and abandoning a sanitary sewer easement beginning at MH number S168H045 and ending at MH number S168H046. Tax map numbers 168A-P-003 and 004, as shown on the attached map, subject to certain conditions.
9C, please.
A resolution authorizing the waiver of park rental fees for Friends of the Festival in support of Riverfront Nights for the dates of May 25th, June 1st, 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th, July 4th, 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th, and August 3rd, 10th, 17th, 24th, and 31st, 2024, to be held in Ross's Landing every Saturday, and Chattanooga Green on May 25th, August 17th, and 24th, 2024, in the amount of $19,000, where a deposit in the amount of $19,000 will be the responsibility of the applicant for a total amount of $38,000.
Thank you. F, please.
A resolution authorizing the appointment of Licarian Douglas as a special commissioned police officer unarmed for the City of Chattanooga Public Works Department Transportation Division to perform duties expressly limited to the performance of the duties in the position of transportation inspector.
No hands. G, please.
A resolution authorizing the appointment of Margaret Siplin as a special commissioned police officer unarmed for the City of Chattanooga, Chattanooga Parking Authority to perform duties expressly limited to the performance of the duties in the position of parking ambassador.
Thank you. H, please.
A resolution authorizing the appointment of Hannah Tate as a special commissioned police officer unarmed for the City of Chattanooga, Chattanooga Parking Authority to perform duties expressly limited to the performance of the duties in the position of parking ambassador.
Thank you. No hands. Wastewater, I and J, please.
Item I, a resolution authorizing the administrator for the wastewater department to award contract number W-20-023-201 influent pump station improvements to Clark Construction Group of McLean, Virginia, for improvements to the influent pump station, including screens and washer compactors, in the amount of $3,346,000, with a contingency in the amount of $334,600, for a total amount of $3,680,600. Item J, a resolution authorizing the administrator for the wastewater department to renew the on-call blanket contract number W-22 2022-201 focused SSES and rehab blanket contract for wastewater consent decree for year 2 of 4 to SAC Construction LLC of O'Fallon, Illinois, and Inliner Solutions of Orleans, Indiana, for the annual amount of $8.5 million.
Thank you. That concludes the Parks and Public Works Committee. Thank you guys for doing a fabulous job. Next, we'll have the Legislative Committee with Councilman Ken Smith. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. I'll now call to order our Legislative Committee meeting. Have a motion on the minutes?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Without objection, minutes will stand as recorded. We have one item we are going to cover today in Legislative Committee. It is a proposed ordinance amendment relative to skateboard, scooters, and similar multimodal devices. Councilwoman Hill has proposed this ordinance. I'm going to turn it over to her at this time for any questions.
Thank you, Chairman. I will just briefly introduce this ordinance to all of you. I provided it to the chairwoman and to Councilman Smith on the 7th of November and have been working on it for several months with constituents in District 1 and 2. Chattanooga's residents are using many different forms of transportation to move about our city, and our ordinances need some updating to provide guidance for usage and safety. Specifically with this ordinance, the work was relative to rollerblading. That was actually what brought the ordinance change need to my attention, because in the real-world example provided to all of you in the documentation I provided, people are attempting to commute from areas of District 1 and 2 via rollerblades into the downtown core and elsewhere. And the way that our ordinances are currently written, they have actually been pulled over by our police officers for using non-motorized vehicle paths, such as bike lanes, and have even been ordered to appear in court. There are tickets associated with this, and when it comes to skating in downtown, our Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 25, Section 25 and 28 currently prohibits, quote, skateboards and aggressive skates on downtown streets. This was passed in the early 2000s, I think, as a response to a trend of destructive skating and skateboarding. And I recognize that we only need one awesome TikTok trend to bring that back. And so as we looked at the language, we wanted to ensure that people can use skates legally, but not be allowed to damage any kind of private or public property. And so that is addressed within these ordinance tweaks. We have had rollerbladers actually be stopped and ticketed in our downtown core because of this ordinance that fully prohibits any kind of aggressive skates or skateboards in the downtown. And I will just add, I learned about what an aggressive skate is. It's a skate style, I suppose it's also a form of skating, but you can use a skate that is a, quote, aggressive skate, not unlike you can drive a sports car, but you can drive a sports car the legal speed limit, or you can use it for other purposes. And so this would be setting boundaries that you can skate safely. Furthermore, other more novel forms of non-motorized transport, such as hoverboards and monowheels, are not currently addressed in the code at all. And within my district, I see quite a lot of people commuting on these types of devices. So I'm recommending these changes because I believe the challenges can be addressed and we can make strides to be accommodating to our multimodal transportation and require safe use of said transportation with revision to our code. And as I said, I've been working on this for several months, and it's poignant to me that it has come to our legislative committee just after District 2 experienced a tragic loss of life of 2 innocent pedestrians. We have another person who is still in the hospital. Because of a vehicle operating unsafely and a person operating a vehicle unsafely. And I think this is an opportunity for this council to begin having a more modern conversation about multimodal transportation, protection of pedestrians, and using other devices to get about our roads, because we know that our community is made up of people, and I believe should be a safe place for people to be able to get around in many forms of transportation. So I would love to answer your questions and get your ideas about how to make this a great piece of legislation. Thank you.
Councilman Hester. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's me.
Chairwoman.
Yes, Madam Vice Chair, thank you for this legislation. I'm a fan of multimodal transportation. I would like the opportunity to run this by some of my downtown residents and business owners so they can give me some feedback regarding this. So if maybe give me a couple of weeks, and then so I can get some feedback from them.
Okay.
Because this would primarily affect them and their businesses as well. So I wanted to make sure that that is noted. And also in, I guess, item C, it says whenever a designated non-motorized vehicle path has been provided. So would we be also utilizing, would we change the bike lanes, or how would that work?
So, sorry, I'm getting my mic on.
I'm working on it, hang on.
So in answer to that question, as Phil and I looked at different ordinances across Tennessee, we looked to other municipalities to see what worked for them. And with item C, we wouldn't actually need to change the bike lane, but it's just acknowledging that the bike lane is a non-motorized vehicle path. So it could be used not just for two-wheeled transportation.
All right, that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Councilwoman?
Thank you, Chair.
Councilwoman Coonrod?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Jenny, again for bringing up this legislation. And I too would love the opportunity to get with my constituents, because it's been an issue in the Highland Park area as well as the Brainerd Road area. So really, I can imagine it's been an issue in everybody's district. And then when we look at the state law, I'm sure that Phil went over the state law with you. We really, the law sets pedestrians up and the drivers up for failure. Like, it's not even safe how they have it worded. And when we put in these, even when we look at the crosswalks, and you putting it at intersections where you got heavily busy traffic and pedestrians walk out, you can imagine what that will cause. So I think to us, sending a letter to our state legislators and say, hey, take a look at this. And then the roads that are considered state roads, like Brainerd Road is that, it's so much that we can do, because Ben and I, he done about got beat up at several not council meetings, but community meetings, because people are addressing safety, and there's so many fatalities that has happened and continue to happen because the state isn't addressing these issues. So we all sympathize and empathize with our constituents on this issue. And it was really, what happened on Fraser Avenue was really heartfelt and sad. Hate that happened. But I'm championing it along with you too, and I'm sure my colleagues are as well. And I know once I talk to my constituents that they for sure will be on board to support it, or to work with you to see what need to maybe be added, what can we take out. So it'll be helpful for the whole entire city.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Vice Chair, thanks for taking a look at this. I would make one suggestion in whatever we decide to do. District 4 obviously is probably not the best place in the world to ride a bike on the side of the road. And even with our new bike lanes sometimes, my challenge would be this, and is the education component of all Chattanoogans, whether it's a public service effort, whether it's involving our media. I know they want to report on certain things. This might be something that we really pull our media partners in with and try to educate our city and for those visiting our city about working together better. I do agree with the multimodal transportation in regards to, and to share a personal story, I had a friend who's in the hospital in South Carolina, and her daughter-in-law is now dead over this past Thanksgiving weekend in line with the horrible, horrible accident that happened on Fraser Avenue, crossing a street, and someone just not paying attention. Or driving recklessly. The investigation is ongoing. The fact is, this is not just our city, but we are in control of what happens as far as information getting out. And you'll hear me say a lot, Madam Vice Chair, changing a law doesn't do much. Putting a new law on the books isn't going to change behavior unless we educate, unless we get serious about it. And I think we should all be pretty ticked at how people do drive and behave around our city, and that's what we can help control. Yeah, I'm full of it right now. I'm gonna be real honest with you. Because I see it out there on a daily drive from almost all the way to the county line where I live, and driving around and owning business downtown. And we've got to do better. And I would challenge, let's take this opportunity with the work that you've done, build on this, and get the administration to back us, get our media partners to back us, and to back this city, and to put out information about why and how these things are happening. Because we can change a law and allow something to happen, but guess what? Nobody knows it. Nobody's following this. There's a room full of people here right now, but you know what? There won't be a room full of people here probably next week. So we have to do better at communicating this, and we have to get people on board. And it takes everybody to do something and say something and work together. This council can do laws all day long. The administration can propose things all day long. But until we get everybody on board in whatever we take as a challenge and decide that we want to do, we need to do that. And we need to do it together. And Madam Chair, I'm sorry that this just brought up, and what happened is just unacceptable. And I just think we need to learn better. And we need to do better and learn from this. And that's the right thing to do. So I hope that we can do that and move forward. And anything that we do is to help and to educate and to get on board and to have everybody help us, because we all live here. We're all neighbors, and we can do this together. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Couldn't agree more. Councilwoman Burrs.
Thank you. A couple of thoughts come to mind that I think we need to consider when we're doing the legislation. Chattanooga is a town of varied environments. Downtown looks different than East Brainerd Road, which are very, very dangerous, do not have wide enough bike lanes, if you will. And I can foresee, if they're totally opened up to multimodal vehicles, I can foresee some real accidents, because unfortunately our drivers aren't very thoughtful as well. So are you considering this to be one size fits all?
Do you want me to?
Please.
So I am proposing that this be a citywide ordinance. I encourage everyone to look very closely at the language for exactly what it does do and what it does not do. So this ordinance does not create a new law, perhaps about how a car behaves or how a bicycle behaves, but it does allow a legal path for a person on rollerblades to be active in our city. It allows a legal path for a person on rollerblades to use a protected crosswalk, where right now there is no legal protection for that. They would potentially not be allowed to exist, essentially. It allows a person on skates to be in the bike in the non-motorized lane if there is one. If there is not one, then Tennessee state law would have them be on a sidewalk, which is a protected area. So this is in line with state law. And I have reached out to our cycling community because they have done so much to further the cause of multimodal transportation in our city, and had conversations that have really taught me quite a lot. So I understand that we as a city do not have authority over bike traffic. That is a state governed form of transportation, and bicycles are allowed on roads, whether we would personally ride on that street or not anywhere in our city. They are allowed on the roads, bike lane or no.
Yeah, I agree with everything. I'm not talking about bikes. I'm talking about adding skates and all these other things to bike lanes that also are not real safe. So I think this is great. We have to address multimodal ways of getting around. There's no reason somebody on roller skates should be cited or have to go to court. That's absurd. But the bottom line is, I think what we really need to do is think thoughtfully about the state of our bike lanes and the fact that we will be adding other forms of non-motorized mobility there. Does that mean a wheelchair can go in a bike lane? Does that mean, all I'm saying is that we need to think so that we address all our citizens and not put anyone in harm's way, because we haven't adequately infrastructurally taken care of the issue. Now, just one other thing, and this is a legal question for you, Phil.
Yes.
Is it not true that we cannot have a law that's looser than the state, but we certainly can have a law that's tighter than the state's?
Yes.
All right, and the state doesn't occupy all of that law. So we can have even a more detailed law, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
You good, Councilwoman?
I'm good.
Madam Vice Chair?
Okay, so to wrap us up, again, I would point out that the primary goal of this ordinance is to make it legal to use skates within the city of Chattanooga. In the city of Chattanooga right now, you can use a hoverboard to go anywhere you want. You can use a scooter. You can use one of those ziggy-zaggy, I can't think of what the name of it is, but my son had one, and a green machine. Like, you can use just about anything to get around, but you can and have and will be pulled over by a police officer and cited for using rollerblades. That doesn't make sense to me. Because we have laws specifically against rollerblades. So I would welcome this council, and I would be happy to help with the work to look at our multimodal approach overall, and I think that is worthy and important work. But for the purposes of this, I would love us to be able to stay tightly focused to get this one piece passed. And then it's interesting, Councilwoman Burrs brought up wheelchairs, because when I commute into town by way of North Market Street, I see people I actually just recently, on a regular basis, I see people commuting into town over the Market Street Bridge with motorized wheelchairs, but not in the bike lane on a sidewalk. But I see people in, I would say, upwards to 7 different forms of transportation every single day, as I personally come into town. And as I drive about the district, I certainly see others as well in other districts. So please let me know if you have questions about the specificity of this. It's very tight, so that we could get this one thing taken care of, and then if we want to pick up the rest, I'd be happy to help carry that flag and do the work there. So given that Chairwoman Dotley and Councilwoman Coonrod have asked for additional time to discuss, might I request that this go on the agenda in 3 weeks, Madam Chair? Okay. So on the 2-week agenda, maybe in 3 weeks, so that we could discuss it? I don't know what date that is.
Maybe the 19th or something.
Okay, so sometime in the next
Should
3
be the
weeks or so,
19th.
it'll get on the agenda. You'll let me know. Okay, thank you all so much for your questions and your thoughtfulness on this. I look forward to getting it across the finish line with you.
All right, thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I see no further lights. With that, we will adjourn Legislative Committee meeting and move into Affordable Housing Committee. Madam Vice Chair. You want to come back? You want to come back over here? Nope, I'm just going to switch. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to call to order the Affordable Housing Committee. Can I get a motion on our minutes? Thank you. Council, today we have 2 very short presentations related to potential pilot projects. And so I will open the floor for our Chief Housing Officer to introduce these 2 projects. These are not on our agenda yet, but will be soon. And so we wanted to make sure everybody got to hear about them in advance and get your questions answered.
Thank you very much, Vice Chairman Hill, and thank you to the council. We have 2 pilot projects today, housing pilots, to present to you. They will be on your agenda next month, but we wanted to take the opportunity with the Affordable Housing Committee scheduled today to go ahead and bring these forward. So with your permission, I'd like to bring DGA up, representatives from DGA. They will be the first presentation. They do not have a PowerPoint presentation, but they do have a very short overview of their project for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Craig Cobb. I represent DGA Residential. We're an affordable housing developer based out of Knoxville, Tennessee. We've got a project here in Chattanooga that is at 6402 Shalford Road. We are partnering with the Chattanooga Housing Authority, and we are going to build 96 affordable housing units there. We've received our funding from THDA, and we're coming to you with a pilot proposal here next month. The 96 units will consist of 48 2-bedroom units, 2-bath, 48 3-bedroom, 2-bath units. The target area median income will be at 60% AMI. Today, that could house families making $51,000 a year. By the time we lease up in 2025, late 25, early 2026, that number should grow to over $60,000 a year for the income targets. The project consists of 6 buildings, plus a clubhouse, plus a playground. The clubhouse will include a gym, computer equipment with no charge to the residents to use either. We'll have a flex space where service providers can come in and do after-school tutoring with the children, and just really be a nice space where we can have various nonprofits in the area come in and provide services to the residents. We'll also have a leasing office and a community room there. Again, the Chattanooga Housing Authority is our co-developer and co-partner on this deal. We really love the location. It's 2 miles from Hamilton Place. It's 3.5 miles from Amazon and 4 miles from Volkswagen, and only 9 miles from downtown Chattanooga. So we really like the location. It's close to a lot of jobs and a lot of amenities that we think are really beneficial.
And just one clarifying point, you said you have received THDA funding, meaning this project has been awarded LIHTC funding?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. We have a question. Councilwoman Burrs.
Yes, what, your name, please?
My name is Craig Cobb.
Okay, Mr. Cobb. That's in my district. I wish you had shown me the courtesy of speaking with me before this presentation. I'd like to know more about it.
Okay.
And I'd like to know, visually, I want to know more about it as well.
Okay.
So at your leisure, would you please call my office and make an appointment
Yes, ma'am.
so that I can be informed, since you're right in the middle of the district?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I do have a rendering here if you'd like to see that.
No,
for-
sir, I'd like for you to come, and there are a lot of details I want to go
Yes,
over
ma'am.
with you. Thank you. It's good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Councilman Hester.
No, it's me.
Oh, I didn't even look. I apologize. Chairwoman Dotley.
Mr. Cobb, you said you are with the Chattanooga Housing Authority, or you're working with them?
We are working with him, yes.
Okay, I always have concern when I hear that, because management is always an issue, given I have several of those properties in my district. So who will be managing these
We will be managing the properties.
directly? And what issues have you had with the properties you currently have?
We've taken over some rough properties in South Carolina that have been existing Section 8 properties. We've really cleaned those up. We add security. We work with local law enforcement. We enforce our house rules. We really haven't had too much once we've gotten in and cleaned up some projects. We've currently leased up one project in Knoxville that'll be similar to this, and we have had no issues at this point with any residents or any management issues.
Okay, I would like to see, I know this will be coming up on our agenda maybe the next 2 weeks or so with this one,
I
maybe?
believe December 18th.
December 18th, okay. So I would like to see more information about the properties that you manage, just information about, crime statistics, more how is management handled, what is the management rating? Because management is everything for these properties, and I've seen some terrible things happen because management is trash. So I would like to see that from this project. And is this your only project in Chattanooga?
Yes, it's our first project in Chattanooga.
First project, all right, that's all I wanted, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Coonrod. I've got a couple of people in line. Can I come back? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, if you hit your line.
Thank you, Chair. Man, Chairwoman Dotley, she hit it on the head with me about this, because we often use, I'm working with the Chattanooga Housing Authority, like that's gonna bait us in, but we really getting tired of people coming for the sake of affordable housing, and they give us trash. And it's in Councilwoman Byrd's district, and I know not too long ago, that community was saying they don't want certain type properties in their neighborhoods. But we just want them, and we do need all types of housing. But I do think that we don't have to accept subpar housing just to have housing, because we got enough of that in Chattanooga. But could you repeat what was the AMI that you're saying this housing would be for?
It'll be at 60% AMI.
Okay, so it's not gonna be the lower income.
It'll be up to 60%.
Up to, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so up to, and it's not just gonna be geared for Section 8, or it's gonna be mixed, Section 8 maybe?
I mean,
regular working
we will
class
accept
people?
vouchers.
You will, okay. Would there be any like background restrictions to your property?
Absolutely.
Like, are there any certain crimes that will be prevented from living at this property?
I can get you a list of those with our
Give me a list, yep.
resident selection plan.
Yep.
But yes, we do full background checks, credit checks, rental history checks. We have full disclosure over who we admit and people have to pass those,
Yeah.
that resident selection program. So it's not a free-for-all where anyone can just come in and sign applications. So we take great pride in running clean properties that are safe and not a burden on the communities that they're in.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of people that can't stay at your property. That mean I wouldn't be able to stay at your property because I got a background. So you may want to try to take a look at your restrictions to see,
I can get the committee a list.
specifically what we would be looking at for housing options for people. But that's all I got for now. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Hester.
How you doing? I'm just curious of that address again on Shalford Road. What's the address?
6402.
6402. Thank you.
Councilwoman Byrd.
Just a couple of follow-ups. You said you were already funded for the project, that.
Yes, we have
So are you
received.
under the impression that everything you've come up with is going to happen? Tell me your understanding.
Could you, I guess I'm not clear on what you mean, everything that we.
Well, normally, when a project there's a process, at least here in Chattanooga, where when you have a project that you want to do, you talk with different people. In this case, it would be, you let the person represents the area aware of it in case they start getting questions. My colleagues have done a great job of bringing back history that could totally change what you're doing, okay? And are you under the impression that this is just a formality and that because you have the funding and because you're working with the housing authority, that this is just a fait accompli? That this is just,
No, no, ma'am. We're here to present our project, and that was complete oversight on my part and meant no disrespect, and we will follow up with you
my colleagues have
quickly
brought
as
up
possible.
very good points, and when we meet, I would like to see all of that in writing. Yes, people should be screened. Yeah, I mean, yes, there should be on-site management. They've all brought up really good points that nobody seems to have the answer for. One of my colleagues that usually says something that's smiling at the end is just because it may be lower income, that doesn't mean it has to be ugly. The amenities, we're not looking for some warehouse okay, so we're serious about everything they mentioned, because no matter how people live, it should be nice, it should have decent amenities, it should have decent landscaping. We're talking about equity. And so those are the kinds of things we're talking about now. So hopefully when you come to see me, otherwise I'll postpone it. When you come to see me and then you present, you've addressed all of those things. All right?
Yes, ma'am.
They've said great stuff.
Yes,
And I
think
agree with them. Okay?
Understood.
Okay, thank you very much.
Seeing no additional questions, Mr. Cobb, I'd like us to come back to the economics of this project. I'm thinking that perhaps we haven't heard much about it because the project didn't need to be rezoned. And so you all have property that already is zoned for the type of development that you would be doing.
Yes, ma'am.
And I've recently been made aware of a Tennessee law that has been on the books for quite some time, council, that actually allows the mayor to send a project like this directly to the HEB. HEB?
That's correct.
Yes, directly to HEB when it has been approved for LIHTC funding. And the reason for that, as I understand it, is because LIHTC is very difficult to qualify for. And if you all will remember in our conversations about the West Side, Chattanooga continually does not win awards for LIHTC because of the 1-point differentiator between us and Knoxville. So it was interesting to have a LIHTC approved project brought before this council because they're so darn hard to get. Would you please, for the council's information, share with us what requirements are on your project because of the LIHTC award and what value that brings to our city with the addition of 96 affordable units? Because what we're really want to dig into as a council soon is whether or not we will approve a pilot. But I would, again, shine the light for council that the state law would allow the mayor, were he to choose, to send this direct to the HEB without bringing it to council. So our choice would be to send it to the HEB. So if you could please address those points before we let you go.
Yes, ma'am. So one of the biggest benefits is that it brings a 30-year use restriction. And so the property will have affordable use restrictions at that 60% area median income for 30 years. So it provides long-term affordability for the city of Chattanooga to help house or to help get roofs over people's head that are in the workforce that are, the lifeblood of the city with, Volkswagen, Amazon, airport, Hamilton Place. I mean, a lot of these jobs can qualify to live at properties with these sort of area median income restrictions, low income restrictions. So it really brings quality, affordable housing to the community for the long term.
Thank you. It speaks to me that the change in our AMI, that 60% AMI by the time this project goes live will effectively be about $60,000 a year income. We are just in a very interesting space in our economy right now. Councilwoman Burrs, do you have any other questions?
I think I'll have plenty when we meet, and I
Okay.
hope we do that soon if you want to move forward. Thank you.
And Craig, just for the edification of the council, since you have that poster, will you just hold it up so we could get a glimpse
Yes.
of what you're planning to build,
So there'll be 2-story buildings
proposing to build?
per code. The material is the hardy cement fiber. We've got the lap siding and the board and batten to kind of have a different texture. We've got something similar to the project I mentioned in Knoxville that we've just leased up. We think it looks really great. The property was fully leased by the time each building received a certificate of occupancy. We'll have similar amenities as the same project. So we feel like we've got a successful design and something that we're proud of and that we think looks good and is really quality materials that we'd like to bring to Chattanooga.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. Oh, we've got Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you. I just wanted to reiterate, like, we understand that they can take it to HEB, to the board, however, they can deny it too.
That's
But
very
again,
true.
we're not against housing, because we've all agreed that we need all kind of housing. But what we're saying is that we want to make sure it's not subpar housing, because everybody that's done come before council, before you was a council person, now that you're on council as well, can you show that image again? They've shown us this every time. But when I look at the Woodlands, it started out as an image like that. When I look at, Battery Heights, it started out as an image like that. When we look at Alton Place, it started out, I can go on and on and on and name affordable housing complexes that comes with this, and it looks good. I would want to stay there. But it's so much more than that. And like Councilwoman Byrd said, and it's her district, but when it comes to equity, that's my concern. And making sure that while we're working with the Chattanooga Housing Authority, it's just not going to end up how the rest of these properties ending up. And then we don't have, and we talked about it in the Woodlands, now Bayberry, they've got sewer coming up through their toilets and tubs that we still haven't addressed after giving them a pilot for 30 years. So those are the things that we're concerned about, is just making sure that we're not having these same conversations coming back around, because we see this beautiful image, and it's nothing against you. I want to give you the benefit of the doubt to say that you're going to do exactly what you say you're going to do. But it's past time that we got to start, putting the boot down on this stuff, because we need housing, true, but we can't continue to accept subpar housing just for the sake of affordable housing.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. Push your light.
See what the insides look like as well. I want to be perfectly clear that just because affordable housing means what people can afford. You're talking about workforce housing. Just because it's workforce housing or, quote, affordable housing, which is a euphemism for sometimes lower-end housing, the equity there is no matter what housing I live in, no matter what end of the spectrum, it should be neat and clean, have the same kind of plumbing facilities. And if you do get the pilot, and I hope it works out, I'm really going to tighten up on clawbacks. No 30 years if there's sewage coming in. No, that day is over. And we need to be very careful in Chattanooga that no matter where people live, no matter what they can afford, not just assume that because it's at one end of the spectrum, it's not as high quality functionally as other places. So I would like to see also what the insides are going to look like, what those materials are going to be. As my colleague said, we're really tightening up on this. Nothing toward you. Thank you so much for working with us. But we're going to be a little tighter from here on out.
Understood.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, and we have a second presentation about a forthcoming pilot request from Chattanooga Neighborhood Enterprise.
Hello, my name is Jake Toner. I am a real estate development consultant, and I help with development with Chattanooga Neighborhood Enterprise. Martina Guilfoyle, the CEO, couldn't be here today, so she asked me to step in and speak to you regarding this project. So thank you for having us. This is a 32-unit project located at 2003 Bailey, and I don't know how to use these. There we go. That's a rendering of the project, and those are the actual buildings. And they're fully designed and all but permitted. I need to pull the permits. We have the actual land disturbing permit, and I need to go ahead and pull the building permits. But it's 3 buildings, 32 units, all 1s and 2 beds. And it's right in the Highland Park neighborhood. C&E has about just under 200 units right now. The properties are all managed in-house, and our property management offices are located a block away from this. Quick project overview, it's a little bit over half an acre of land, 3 buildings, 2 10-plexes, a 12-plex, 32 units, 25 off-street parking spaces, 9 on-street. We actually dedicated a little bit of land and went to CDOT and asked them if we could donate land and then and have on-street parking in front of the property. 1 accessible per code and some bike spaces. These are the proposed rents and unit mixes. We put in a proposal to put 7 home-funded units in this project. The home units are at 50 and 60% roughly area median income. We've also won an award for 8 vouchers from CHA, and those will be a range of up to 80%. I have a meeting about that tomorrow. This is the first time we've used vouchers, and I'll know more specifics about that very soon. The balance of the units, we've held at 80% rents, and the request is to hold half of all the units at 80% incomes. And the goal of C&E is to try and hold everything right at that point. We ask not to restrict more than half because we don't want to get into a situation where costs go up and we need to raise rents a little bit to make sure we have positive cash flow. A note at the bottom of this slide is, according to Zumper.com, which is what we use as a baseline for rents in the area, downtown submarket rents are $1,439 for a 1-bed and $2,100 for a 2-bed right now. Those are the average rents in the downtown submarket as of the middle of November.
Okay.
This is a quick overview of the budget. Our construction debt is from Brightbridge, the local CDFI, and they funded some of our previous projects. And then we work closely with the 2 foundations, or 2 of the foundations in the community for equity financing. Then C&E has put in cash as well into this project. And then our home funds application is in, and we've gone through the environmental process of that, and we're looking for the approval of that next. quick summary, the request is to commit at least 50% of the units of households at 80% or less AMI in exchange for the pilot. The projected initial annual cost savings to the of the pilot to the project will be around $53,000. This is not an exact number because the tax appraisal comes in after we're finished, not before we start. The only way to replace this money without the pilot, if it's not approved, is to raise the rent. So our goal, our mission is to maintain these rents at lower rents and for people at the 50 and 60 and 80% area median income ranges. And without the pilot, we can't build this project and maintain those rents. And that's.
Okay, thank you, Jake. Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. So the last bullet point obviously is your but-for test.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Dotley.
Lower you talked about keeping the rents low for how long? Just over the life of just keeping it low?
So the home rents will be restricted for 20 years at the 50 and 60% level, and that's contractual. And the pilot rents would be restricted for the term of the pilot. And it's C&E's hope and C&E's mission that it goes on in perpetuity. If the pilot could be renewed, C&E's not there to make money. C&E's there to keep the units affordable. But the only way to do it is to count every penny and try and limit expenses. The CHA vouchers, I believe that they go on in perpetuity, but I have to check with that. Like I said, I have a meeting. This is the first time we've used those. And I'm in the educational process right now. We've won the approval of the 8 vouchers, but I haven't ever used them before.
Okay, thank you so much. Oh, and could you email us this presentation, please?
I'm sorry?
Could you email us this presentation?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. Same questions. What will be the background restrictions for someone to be housed?
So the income restriction is the first. You mean background check? Background, so everybody goes through a standard background check. They will be income qualified per HUD requirements.
Are there any specific charges that will prevent somebody from?
I just now anticipated you asking me that question, and I don't know the answer to it. I can get you an answer for it.
Give me that answer, because I just want to know
You're
if
looking
you all
at-
will work with anybody with background restrictions. I know there are certain charges that, I probably wouldn't rent to, but just want to know what's yours.
I will ask the property management team that question.
So without the pilot, what will the rent be for these? If you say you don't do
you can't flip back,
it'll
but
be
I
for
can.
the downtown market area.
Right there, if you look at the top chart, these are with the pilot.
Right.
Without the pilots, I don't have the math, but I think it's 17 of the units that are not home and voucher restricted would have to cover that additional $53,000 or $54,000 a year. I can't do that math in my head. It's around 17 units would have to go up roughly $300 a month.
So a mortgage payment.
I'm sorry?
A mortgage payment, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
The pilot is material. I mean, it's the most material tool we have, and we can ask for at least, to maintain these lower rents. We're not using a federal subsidy. This is not a LIHTC deal. The goal of C&E and the foundations that back it is to help revitalize the neighborhoods and to bring affordable housing and a little bit more density into the neighborhoods. And we're doing it without a federal subsidy. So it's really equity from the foundations, construction debt, and we try and maintain just a little bit of cash flow to make sure we don't, if we have a bad tenant in a a few units go offline so they get cleaned up because somebody did damage to a unit, then we're not going to get crushed financially. That's the goal.
You know what, I need to hire you to be a part of my team, because you went instantly into advocating for the project. I'm not against it. I'm really concerned about people with background challenges that may or may not be able to be housed. But knowing Martina, like she, and the work that we have done, she always works with them, works with people with different background challenges and so on and so forth. So, and that's a conversation she and I will always continue to have around projects that's in my district. But thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. This ends our Affordable Housing Committee. Chairwoman Dotley, we need to move into an attorney-client meeting and then recess. To what time would you like us to recess?
We can recess until, let's do 5:30.
5:30, okay. Do I need to hit this, Phil?
You
For
can.
recess?
Yes, ma'am.
We are going to recess into an attorney-client, and we'll return for the next portion of our voting at 5:30.